Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Cat's Track, episode 6. I would like to introduce you to my dear friend, Chris Day, on today's episode. Chris was born in Hamilton and moved west at 18 years old. Lucky us. Chris is married to his amazing wife, Veronica, who he fondly introduces as his first wife. They have been together since they were 19 and now married 26 years. Apparently, Veronica still likes him too. So nice. Chris loves riding bicycles and cooking, and he is passionate about being a partner with Deboski Co. He is also the very best client service professional that I've ever known and a great mentor to me. You will find his full bio attached. Chris, thanks for joining us today.
Catherine, thank you for having me and appreciate the very kind introduction. Thank you.
Oh, I'm just speaking the truth, my friend. May we start with the questions that I sent you this week?
You bet. Let's roll. Let's hit some balls.
Awesome. Okay, the first one. What has been your biggest challenge in the last 2 months?
Not submitting to fear.
Ah,
I think we in our Western society have been respectfully held in a pretty safe space. We might have experience with the emotions of joy, happiness, grief, success, but fear and the relationship with fear, certainly in a protracted long-term environment where there's uncertainty, um, we've been sound. We've had health security. We've had food security. We have a network around us in our society that has provided economic security. And that has now been in question. And, by function of devices like these, which are available, 24/7 and 30-second, 5-minute, 1-hour updates, it's been, on us. So I've worked really hard and I haven't been successful. I think, uh, if I would submit to fear 2 or 3 times a year, and that's a choice, I work really hard to stay away from it. So that's one space that I have struggled with. And I seek the positive and, you know, I seek behavior and activity, which keeps me out of it.
yeah. And you know what, Chris, you are the most positive, optimistic person I've ever met. For you to reveal that to us, thank you for being real and honest. It's refreshing. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. But there's good news. Maybe they'll come out in the next pitch with the other questions because there is a mechanism and there's things we can do to, I think, insulate ourselves from it and or get up close to it, look it right in the eyes, and deal with it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, what are your 3 things that you'd like to share with our audience today?
So, the human condition is an adaptable one. And again, we're out of practice because we've had it pretty good. Generally speaking, we have a pretty stable life. For most of us, we have stability in our work, in our lives as fathers, sons, uncles, cousins, employees, business partners, husbands, and wives. In the various roles that we have, um, there has been safety and security. So the ability to be adaptable. And certainly in the early days of, call it COVID-19, call it round it off to March 15th. By the hour, the situation in our lives and how we lived our lives changed. And the first 24 hours, I read too much news. So I gave that up. I tried to then reduce it down to once a day, which at first, it seemed like an irresponsible adaptation. So adaptation and trying to do things differently because what we did 01 to March 15th didn't apply to March 15th to now.
Yeah.
So adaptation. Um, I have made it a daily goal to reach out to 5 people a day to try to fill their bucket, to try to add. Even folks that would self-describe as delighted to be working from home and delighted to be shut in. Um, that's a mechanism, and I think that it's our duty to take care of each other. A very good friend of mine and somebody I look up to, as a rule, often shows up to meetings with butter tarts. So sugar plus effort equals love, equals care. And there's a great many ways that we can show care locally and nationally. And certainly, if we've got the $20 to have something sweet delivered, or some bread delivered, or some craft spirit or craft beer delivered, uh, believe me, that goes a long way. If that isn't possible, the Mark One telephone call, without permission by way of text, to interrupt somebody, as that's what telephones do, and get them on the phone, get them engaged, ask them how they're doing. We don't have to have all the answers, but showing care has been one way of adapting to it, and doing it in a deliberate, purposeful, goal orientated manner would be number one.
I love it.
Um, Number two is those that are in receipt or holding significant relationships, inventories of relationships, and have been a light or a guide or somebody that folks go to during this time, we can expect more of that. And this is where we need to be on.
Mhm.
As I mentioned earlier, as a father, as a son, as a husband, as a spouse, as a business partner, a colleague, a nephew, a niece, when that call rings, it might be somebody calling you for help. It might be somebody who needs to hear some safety and security and genuine care. So I ask you to consider in the adaptability, organizational readiness, and emotional readiness, so that we are available to those that love us and need us. Um, we can't proactively reach out to everybody that we know and love, but in the event that that phone rings or that text goes, you have a duty to adapt and get to them,
Yeah,
and care for them.
so true. Sorry. You were
So,
so
like, yeah, I mean, and this is it, and that's real, Catherine. I mean, we are adaptable, and we are reliable creatures, and we have the ability to survive a great many things. But this is not easy, and we can't. We can make light of it, and I'm trying to play off Beard just for fun because it's amusing. And even though I'm 49 years old, I'm basically still 14 years old in my own mind. So I don't know, whatever mechanisms we can to have fun. I mean, we've got to try, and we've got to try harder, and we've got to be deliberate about it, and we've got to show care, and we've got to carry on with our duties, uh, within the family, within our work, within our society, our community goals, our community contributions. Now more than ever, um, y- community service in the new form that it will be, which will be different, we have to be there, and we have to have capacity for it, or find capacity for it.
agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
So I don't know if that equation has been coined yet, but like sugar plus effort equals love and care. Now, I've got some people in my family that are really good at math, and that's going to make them mental. But that is some legit love math.
I love it. Of
Contactless delivery, of course.
course. Thank you. Oh, and then the final question is, what's a good news story or legacy story that you would like to leave with us as we close?
Good news story. It's a small one, but again, it was an adaptable learning. So we, as partners at Deboski, Ben Fortier, Dustin Daniel, and I would meet on the telephone, a voice call, like on the impersonal speakerphone. Now it's a modern, Bluetooth device, so it sounds pretty good, but it's a speakerphone, and we would meet weekly, and we thought that was sufficient. And when this began, um, we then were like, okay, that's not enough because things are changing by the hour, by the minute.
Yeah,
We need to be more available to each other. So we had a standing call, and like a great many, we use the application that you and I are on right now, Zoom,
yeah,
and it makes it more personal, and it makes it more human. And so that was a win for us to communicate more often. And just like you can hear things on the phone, but it's way more difficult to hide when you're looking at the little green light.
yeah.
and the, hopefully not the 1080 HD camera. I don't think that's 1080 HD. Because then they can see it, and then they have an opportunity to say, "Dude, are you all right?"
Yeah.
Like, "Well, yes, I'm wearing a ball cap because I haven't had a self-directed haircut in 10 days, and I feel like Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future." Right? "Catherine, get in the DeLorean!" Right? So, yeah, so it's a micro win, but more communication for us organizationally meant more ability for us to care for each other, which equaled more ability to do our jobs better and serve our clients better. And that's one of our functions is client care. And that increased communication equaled, I believe, better client care for our clients.
I love it. Oh, Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. I
Catherine,
I
sorry, Kat. So video conference blunder. Sorry, I'll remain still until you're finished speaking.
love this is cash. It's all good. I really appreciate your time today. I know it's precious, and I'm grateful that we're friends and colleagues, and that you're living in Calgary. I'm so happy about
Thank you
that.
for having me. I appreciate your friendship and I value it greatly. And today's a whole new day. And when I'm done this call, five unsuspecting people in my relationship inventory are sadly going to get a call from me, and they're going to be like, "Oh, here it comes. Here comes here comes this guy who's going to try to um, talk to me." And but we'll see. We'll see if I get a 5 out of 5 people answer the phone.
Oh, they will. When Chris Day calls, you answer the phone.
Thank
Thank,
you for having me, Catherine. Appreciate it.
thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. That was Pat's Track with Mr. Chris Day, and I look forward to seeing you next time.